Teachers have read it. What is your "this student is so smart it's scary" story? I was doing a 500-piece puzzle with some kids. I was a preschool teacher. We finished the puzzle, except for one piece, which was nowhere to be found. Kid comes in, takes one look at the puzzle on the table, says, "Oh, are you missing that? I know where it is." Reaches into another completely different 500-piece puzzle, rummages for like 10 seconds, pulls the piece out, fits it in. I ask him how he knew it was there. He said he had done the other puzzle for a bit and noticed it. I asked him how long ago. Christmas, he says. It was February at the time. Kid was maybe 5 at the time. Might be more memory than intelligence, but that was crazy to see. Such a great kid, in somewhat dire circumstance. I hope he's gotten all the opportunities he deserved. We had a 4-year-old in preschool. He was sitting under the table writing down numbers for a long time. He had no time to talk to us. When he came out and we looked at what he had been doing, he said he wrote down all the multiplications. It turns out his brother in 5th grade was learning the multiplication table, and this little brother really wanted to do the same, but did not have a multiplication table. He counted on his fingers to add each column, and got the table right. A few days later he knew multiplication. He would also comment on dates. If someone told they had their birthday on June 12th, he would say that is in 184 days almost immediately. On an excursion we passed some statues with birth and death dates, and he would casually sum up. He was 78 years and 110 days old, she was born 33 years and 120 days before him, etc. I think he was maybe more focused and willing to understand than necessarily so smart. Edit. Since got some traction. This kid is really the whole package. He is enthusiastic about everything. Gymnastics, science, art, math. Not at all to compete, just because it is what he likes. Other kids just follow him, and he is the off in the center, and he is kind and nice. Never seen him push, hassle or brag. Just enjoys taking in all facets of life. I just wanted to show him I could see who he was. I treated him as an adult in conversations and feedback. He was of course childish in many ways, but behind the noise of childishness was a wise soul I wanted to know and encourage. I taught high school math. One of my freshman students divided 1134 by 63 in his head in less than a second. I let him finish the problem, and then after he arrived at his answer, I asked him, "How did you do that?" He looked at me with this blank stare as if he was thinking, "You can't do that?" He proceeded to say, "Well, I doubled 63, and then multiplied that by 10, and then I saw that 1134 was just the difference of those two numbers, so 18. Looked at me like it was nothing. I told him good work and moved on. I'm only above average at a few things, but one of them is mental math. When I saw that this kid could do this calculation that I couldn't, I was so happy. It was one of my happiest moments as a teacher. I didn't help him in that moment, but to know I played a small part in his math education felt so good. I'm a piano teacher on the side. Teaching a 4-year-old how to read sheet music before she can read books. I ask her to find the CS, and she will point then out on the page act. She can also do math really well and understands the concept of multiplication. Also another student that just started and plays by ear and composes her own pieces at 8. She also speaks 5 languages, which I didn't find out until I told her I was learning German. After teaching her for 3 months, she's already to the point where I had to send her to a better teacher. Not a teacher, but a proud big brother. My baby sister was 5 when I came home from college for the summer after actually figuring out calculus. And I explained it to her. And she wrote it down in her journal. Yes, she kept one from the time she was about 4. Fast forward after she skipped a few grades in elementary school, and she was taking calculus in high school. And could not understand why it was so easy. And reread her journal, figured it out, and called me, laughing. She has a PhD in high-energy physics, and does research at CERN. Yeah, that stuff. Desperately proud of her. I work with 18 to 24-month-olds, and we have an 18-month-old who can have literal conversations. Perfect sentence structures, perfect verb conjugation, perfect pronunciation, even L and R. Knows all the alphabets, numbers, colors, shapes, by sight. Some of the others know some of those things, but I've never seen a baby this advanced. I sometimes forget she's only 1 year old because she seems more like 3.5. Just tiny like a 1-year-old. Her dad brought her back from a well baby checkup, telling us that the doctor asked, "Does she say any words yet?" And we all lolled cause she has full conversations. Not a teacher, but had a classmate who was, and still is, a genius. I distinctly remember him asking very complex questions on the current reading literature and making constructive arguments. It was over my head, but our teacher was offended and argued back that he didn't understand anything and/or an overachiever. I think they were over her head as well. She screamed at him and stormed out of class a number of times. There was a time she asked him to leave as well. I never felt so bad for a classmate. He didn't deserve to be yelled at like that. I believe he's now a mathematician with published works and awards, as well as a successful musician. I have a student who is an immigrant that speaks fluent English. I assumed that she grew up in the USA. She told me she had been here for a year and knew zero English before coming. I was amazed. I have another student who just does calculations instantly in his head. He doesn't have to think. When he learns more math, it just becomes automatic. He explained that numbers just make sense. So in my senior year of high school, I decided to drop back down to regular English. It wasn't my strongest class, and I knew senoritas was a real thing. Problem was regular English was way too easy for me. So I sat in the back with the troublemakers. When we did Canterbury Tales, my English class required us to write our own version of them. I ended up teaming up with two stoners. One of them admitted to getting high as fuck, and he wrote the entire thing while high. It was perfect, it was in the same poetic form and everything. I just had to add pictures and put it in a PowerPoint. Easiest day ever. The teacher even asked me if my partners had did anything, and I told her that I only made the PowerPoint. Worked at a special purpose preschool designed for kids on the autism spectrum. Did an intake day with a kiddo, 4YO, where I was just trying to have fun and see what kind of things he liked. Did some time on the computer where we surfed around YouTube a bit. He searched up a video about our solar system and began to explain to me the difference between the inner solar system and the outer solar system, what they're made of, sizes, electromagnetic fields to compensate for distance from the sun, etc. I had to Google everything he was saying because I had no idea if it was true. Spoiler alert. It was. In 3rd grade, we did this thing called rocket math. We had 1 minute to do as many problems as we could, a page of 60 problems. You get a prize if you get enough right in one go. This one girl was so fast the teacher had to shorten her time to 30 seconds. She finished 60 problems in less than 30 seconds. Multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, all of it in 3rd grade. Even with 30 seconds, she still had spare time. I'm a student BTW. We also ran out of prizes. I had a 1st grader with a speech impediment who was asking for a type of book. His peers and I couldn't understand him no matter how hard we tried. Finally, he gave up, and without any frustration, he found a picture book with someone stirring a pot on the cover. He opened the book and skimmed through words until he found what he was looking for. The word cooking. He showed me the book and pointed, telling me that was the word he had been trying to say. He wanted a cookbook. This was a 6-year-old. 6. Not a teacher, but had a classmate in my American government class in a community college about 9 years ago. Our teacher gives 3 questions for you to pick one of them to write about for the test in essay format. You get the question about a week or so to prepare you to study your subject question. Most people write an average of 5 to 8 pages during the test. This guy writes around 20 pages, give or take. Even the teacher was dumbfounded. He did this for every test, and this is a 3-term class. You don't have to take all terms, or even take it order if you happen to do all 3. Yes, he got A's. He wanted to get into politics. I heard of overachievers, but WTF? Who does that? I was a student teacher at the time completing my education degree. I taught 8th grade. There was this one girl who was your typical edgy, angsty 13-year-old who was too cool for everything. When we went through our poetry unit, we gave a project in which the kids had to write their own freeform poem and put it to some sort of video or slideshow. This girl wrote a poem about how the United States education system as it is stifles creativity and destroys students' joy of learning. I always remember this one line from her poem. I learned more from an evening watching Hamilton on stage than an entire year in a United States history class. The video was your typical angsty black and white shots of her friends standing solemnly in front of her behind chain link fences and signs that say no trespassing. The next day she showed up with a gigantic biography of Alexander Hamilton. It was bigger than most Bibles. It only took her a week to read it. My mentor teacher hated her because she thought the student thought she was smarter than everyone else and was arrogant. Maybe she did think that. Maybe she thought we were annoying simpletons. But I just thought she was dope as fuck. This kid didn't particularly like or dislike me, hated my mentor teacher, and disliked anyone except a couple friends. She was sassy. She was smart. She had a finely tuned bullshit meter. She had a huge vocabulary and an obvious love of learning. She'd grill out book after book. And where my mentor teacher saw arrogance in her poem project, I just saw a girl who was desperately bored and was asking for a challenge. I tried my best to give her extra, more challenging options in the future for her assignments. She never said anything to me, but I got the feeling she appreciated it, or I hope she did. My mom had a special needs student who went on some field trip to one of the NASA centers, I don't remember where. His dad was an IT guy I think, and had been teaching this kid, around 10 years old I think, stuff on the side because he was all about computers. Kid wandered off and apparently found some office or computer lab or something unlocked, walked in, sat down at a computer, figured out how to unlock that terminal, and started browsing through their internal stuff for a while before someone caught him. He got in big trouble for that one, but I don't know if it even registered in his mind what a huge issue that cold will be. He would do it at school and nobody cared too much, so I don't think he saw an issue doing it out in the real world. He came to my mom the next year or the year after that when his family moved, and my mom was warned not to leave her personal electronics unattended, because he would figure out how to get in. My son has a fascination with nuclear physics and science. He's collected commonly found radioactive minerals that I made him get rid of so the whole house doesn't get cancer. He's researching a way to build a miniature thorium reactor, and insists the only reason it doesn't exist now is because people have given up on it. He's 15. My oldest daughter is an incredible artist, but she's got that attitude like her poop doesn't smell bad. She's always made incredible drawings with simple pencils and paper since she was a child. She could capture your likeness in her mind with a glance, and draw you out with a piece of standard white typing paper, and an office number too. She's now 18. My youngest daughter watches death metal goats on YouTube. She's about to turn 14. My twin brother, who we just recently found out that he is on the spectrum for Asperger's, when we were 3 he would read the old-fashioned maps to my mother and tell her where to go. Fast forward to 8 years old, he would read at college level. Now we're 16, he's still very smart, but very AUTOTUNE. My mother calls it this due to the fact that he always had different levels of sensitivity, attuned to certain things. But when I was 3, I was just learning how to eat on my own, due to medical problems that I still have to this day. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if so, do not forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this.